Welcome back to Pokemon episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 312, The Spiel of Approval. The episode begins with Ash and the gang going through the streets of Slateport City after May's first Pokemon contest. And we're debating what to do now that May's first contest was over, deciding to stay one more day in Slateport City, but not knowing what to do with it. May wasn't any help with suggestions, as she was too busy talking about how exciting the contest was and how she couldn't wait for her next one, which confused Max, as he reminded her that she was very depressed when she first lost, so was confused that even though May had definitely gotten in a better mood since then, she didn't seem to have any negative feelings relating to the contest, leading May to explain that she had forgot all about her negative thoughts and replaced them with determined thoughts of how she was going to win in her next contest. This made Ash laugh, exclaiming that May was exactly like him and Pikachu when it came to winning. They would get depressed sometimes, but they would quickly turn that depression into determination, not wanting to mope around like they did back when they first started their journey, or when Ash lost the Indigo League, for example. Brock agreed both with the fact that Ash was just like May in regards to gym battles compared to contests, and also admitted that Ash had come a long way. Brock then suggests that he was going to spend his day stocking up on supplies before they left, while May suggested that she was going to spend her day just doing regular Ash shopping for, fancy shit. And since Brock and May were both going to stores, they decided to go together. And asked if Ash and Max wanted to come along as well, although Max said he wanted to go in the opposite direction of the stores toward the Oceanic Museum, since he wanted to learn more about the Pokemon there. Ash was more intrigued by this than shopping, so he decided to go with Max, and Brock and May then went off in one direction towards their shopping, while Ash and Max went off towards the Oceanic Museum in the other direction, although both halves of the gang agreed to meet back up at the museum when May and Brock's shopping was done. Ash and Max eventually made their way over to the Oceanic Slateport Museum, but much to their surprise, they found out that it was closed, as they found a closed sign on the door. And Ash's shock only turns to pure confusion when he reads in the guidebook that Brock had lent him to help him find the museum, that the museum was supposed to be open every day, so why wasn't it? Ash couldn't figure out a reason, so he was about to give up. However, Max then examined the outside of the museum and decided that he would try to climb up and get inside from the top somehow. Even with channeling his frustration, though, he wasn't able to climb up very far, and soon fell off the wall that he was climbing. Mostly because he got startled, since a child confronted him, demanding to know what the fuck he was doing climbing up the museum wall. Max nervously states that he just wanted to get a closer look at the museum and find a way inside, leading the child, being a boy, to come to the conclusion that Max must have wanted to get a closer look to steal the museum's exhibits. And he tells Max that he wouldn't let that happen because he was Marius, the protector of the museum. Seeing Max fall and hearing Marius' angry yelling, Ash comes up and asks Marius what the fucking problem was. And seeing Ash with Max made Marius believe that Ash was his accomplice. So he accuses Ash and Max of trespassing and being thieves, which confuses Ash because he doesn't know what the fuck Marius was even talking about, as Marius then sends out his Spiel and tells it to attack. Although Spiel just sits there, clapping happily, allowing Ash to pull out his Pokedex and scan it. Marius thought that Spiel just didn't attack because he didn't order a specific attack, so he specifically told it to use Water Gun, but Spiel just sat there some more, happily clapping. So Marius sighed with annoyance and told it to use Water Gun for a second time. And this time, Spiel actually obliges, but it just turns around and uses Water Gun on Marius' face, much to his annoyance. And he was so angry that he now decided to switch attacks and hope that Spiel would at least use one of those properly, so he ordered to use a Body Slam. Spiel actually had no problem listening this time, as it went in for Ash and Max to Body Slam them, but Ash and Max jumped out of the way just in time, meaning that Spiel hit a wall instead. Unfortunately, Spiel bounces off the wall into Marius, knocking him the fuck down, as Spiel doesn't see anything wrong with this, just happily clapping, sitting on top of his chest. Seeing this, Ash and Max embarrassingly laughed on Marius' behalf at how he clearly couldn't control his Spiel. And Ash suggests that the reason why Marius was having such a hard time with his Spiel was because he was probably a noob trainer and could therefore use a few pointers in battle, and Max agreed with this. This made Marius angry as he got back up, pushing his Spiel off of him, and claimed that he was a great trainer and not a noob, and he then had his Spiel use Blizzard. However, Ash just has Pikachu use Thunderbolt to stop the Blizzard and take Spiel out in one hit, shocking Marius that his Spiel was defeated that easily. And he begins to rant to himself about how he lost in one fucking hit, and comforts his Spiel. Max then explains why Spiel was knocked out so quickly, explaining that Spiel was a water type, and therefore weak to Pikachu's electric attacks. Then, Max tells Marius that him not knowing about his Pokemon's weaknesses just proved that he needed more practice in battle, like he and Ash both thought. Ash, now being roped into the conversation, apologized for calling Marius a bad trainer, admitting that he just wanted Marius to get better, basically. Like, that's why he was kind of calling him out for being a bad trainer. He wanted him to kind of improve. And he then also reminded Marius that since his Spiel was super injured, he should probably recall it to its Pokeball, or take it to the Pokemon Center for it to rest. And Marius, knowing that the Pokemon Center was pretty far away, decided that recalling his Spiel would be the best option. So he does that. Just then, a man named Captain Stern, who was apparently the curator of the museum, approached, coming outside from the museum, and greeted Marius, saying that he's been looking for him. Before Captain Stern can say anything else, Marius immediately states his assumption to Captain Stern that Ash and Max were thieves trying to steal shit from the museum. Though Ash and Max explained that they weren't trying to steal anything and just wanted to see the exhibit. Marius believes them, so he apologizes for his misunderstanding. And he also apologizes to Mr. Stern as well for causing some confusion. Ash and Max were confused as to how Marius and Captain Stern knew each other, because they were so different in age, leading Marius to reveal that he essentially viewed Captain Stern as a mentor figure, especially since he ran the museum like he wanted to, and that's why he decided to take up the job as a person who protected the museum. Ash and Max were a bit confused at this adult-kid friendship, as anyone should be, although they became less suspicious of it when Marius revealed that Captain Stern was the one who had given his spiel. Which also makes Max change the subject, stating how lucky Marius was to have a Pokemon. Marius obviously found out, because of what Max had just said, that Max didn't have a Pokemon, so he began to brag about how he had a Pokemon and Max didn't, which made Max get mad, as Marius continued to laugh, and Max reminded Marius of how, even though Marius had a Pokemon, his battle skills still sucked ass, which made Marius fall to the ground in embarrassment. Captain Stern breaks up the little argument between Max and Marius, and asks Max and Ash why they were at the museum in the first place, leading Max and Ash to introduce themselves, and state that they wanted to visit the museum, but they didn't know why they couldn't go in, and asked him, since he was the curator, why he had closed it, leading Captain Stern to reveal that he had to close the museum because of some unexpected event, though he didn't want to go into any further detail. As an apology for Marius's previous behavior, though, the curator, Mr. Stern, decides to give Ash and Max a tour of the museum, which Ash and Max happily agree to, with Marius coming along as well. Meanwhile, as for Team Rocket, they were spying on Ash and Max, Marius, and Captain Stern from the nearby grass with their binoculars, and they came up with a plan to try and steal Pikachu, and also rob the museum of anything valuable so that they could sell it, in hopes of becoming rich. Just then, Jessie mentioned the Spheal, having saw it battle against Pikachu, and said that even though it clearly wasn't very good in battle, it was very cute, and she pretended to cuddle it, really wanting it as well. James was down for trying to steal Spheal, but he didn't want to keep it. He wanted to potentially sell it, and basically market it as something that could cool people off with its water attacks. Meowth agreed with James, and the two of them cheered, as Jessie cheered for her idea. So, knowing that they had different viewpoints, Jessie and James and Meowth began having a serious discussion to determine what they were going to do about the Spheal, as Wobbuffet then popped out of its Pokeball. Meanwhile, back with Ash, Max, Marius, and Captain Stern was guiding Ash, Max, and Marius through the museum. While Marius explained that not only did he want to be the museum protector when he grew up, he wanted to be a marine biologist since he loved water Pokemon, so he really liked some of the exhibits and even helped polish some of them. And he then showed Ash and Max several water Pokemon sculptures, including one of a giant Wailord, and one of a Lantern, one of a Wailmer, one of a Goldeen, and one of a Tentacool. Ash and Max were more impressed by the gigantic Wailord one, but Marius' favorite was a Goldeen. Though explains that he wasn't really interested in Goldeen itself, he was interested in Goldeen because he hoped to catch one to evolve it into a Gyarados, explaining that Gyarados was the Pokemon that he wanted more than any other Pokemon in the world. This leads Ash and Max to explain to Marius that Goldeen didn't evolve into Gyarados, only Magikarp did, making Marius embarrassed that he truly didn't know that much about Pokemon. Ash then states that even if Marius managed to catch a Magikarp and evolve it into Gyarados, Gyarados was a strong Pokemon, so it would be very hard for a newbie trainer like Marius to control, adding that he should try and train with Spheal and control it better first. Max agreed with this, and basically stated that if Marius couldn't train Spheal, then he certainly would have no luck with the Gyarados. Marius begins to sweat from embarrassment, wishing that Ash and Max thought higher of him, and he decided to change the subject by pointing to a model of a submarine and explaining that once he achieved his true dream of becoming a true marine biologist and went out at sea traveling in a submarine, he would learn everything about water Pokemon ever and would no longer be a noob. Ash and Max were impressed by the model of the submarine, leading Captain Stern to reveal that the model was based on an actual submarine that he was currently building at the Slateport shipyards, explaining that he happened to be also the owner of the Slateport shipmaking company, and so he had access to the place. Damn, this dude's a curator and the shipmaker, Jesus Christ. Anyways, Marius began talking about how awesome all of Captain Stern's ships were, stating that he used them to pick cool artifacts from the ocean floor and to study the habitats of water Pokemon. Ash and Max were impressed by this, so Captain Stern thought that Ash and Max would also be impressed by the reason why he had closed the museum. Ash and Max were definitely intrigued by this, so Captain Stern took Ash, Max, and Marius to his office to explain why he closed the museum, as he pulls a case out of his desk and opens it up. Inside was something that Captain Stern had found on one of his recent dives underwater. This item was an unusual dark rock, specifically found from the sea floor, and explains that the reason why he had closed the museum was because he wanted to spend the day finding out more about this mysterious rock. Ash and Max stared at the black rock in awe, questioning how it was formed and what exactly the deal with it was, leading Captain Stern to explain that the rock was a volcanic rock, and came to the conclusion that the rock had experienced extreme heat because the bottom of the ocean radiated extreme heat, and therefore the rock gained its dark appearance because of the heat. Ash and Max did not understand how there could be heat at the bottom of the ocean, so Mr. Stern explained that undersea volcanoes could be the cause of the heat, explaining that there were apparently a whole bunch of volcanoes on the ocean floor, and there was apparently many legends that talked about an ancient Pokemon of the land that could come down to the water and cause them to erupt. And then when the magma from the volcano connects with the water, it hardens and forms the rock that Captain Stern had right now. Max was in disbelief and asked if there was really a Pokemon that could cause underwater volcanoes to erupt, and Captain Stern stated that that's at least what he believed. Because there were so many legends, like so many, it was insane. They had to be real. Just then, Ash and Max hear two voices that they claim to be familiar outside of the museum, and Captain Stern and Marius hear these voices as well, although they didn't recognize them. Ash and Max soon forgot about their recognition, though, as they paid attention to what the voices were actually saying, as they were saying that they were selling snow cones in addition to ice cream. Marius and Captain Stern were able to pinpoint the voices coming from the courtyard outside, and Ash, Max, and Marius asked if they could excuse themselves to go buy some of these ice cream and snow cones, and Captain Stern permits this. So Ash, Max, and Marius rush outside while Captain Stern locks the rock inside of the case once again and starts analyzing the data that he had of it to learn more about it and the potential Pokemon that could have caused it to form from the heated up water. Unbeknownst to Captain Stern, though, just outside of the museum, a Team Magma Grunt was slipping a keycard into one of the museum door slots, basically breaking in through the security system. Once the card was inserted into the security system, the computer device connected to it flashed, and the Team Magma Grunt entered a code into it, and because of this code, after a few seconds, the door clicked and opened up, allowing the Team Magma Grunt to go inside the museum. Anyways, as for Ash, Max, and Marius, they left the museum to go to the source of the voices offering ice cream and snow cones, only to find that it was Team Rocket disguised as Hawaiians. Ash, Marius, or Max, even though it was obvious why Marius would, didn't recognize Team Rocket, and Marius simply went up to them and asked for 4 ice cream cones. And Jesse then told Meowth to prepare some, so he did, being the one who was actually capable of making the ice cream. So Marius, Max, and Ash sit down at a table, and Jesse brings the ice cream in front of each of them, and a 4th one to Pikachu, since that's who the 4th one was for. Ash then takes a bite the second he got his ice cream on the table, and said it was super good, but super sweet, and cringed at this. Marius and Pikachu then dig into their ice cream, and they make the same cringed face as Ash did, as they were getting brain freezes. Max was as well, but he immediately got caught off guard when he observed Jesse, James, and Meowth, and realized that the museum was closed. So everyone, including the snow cone and ice cream sellers, should know this. So basically, Max was like, these sellers should not be here. And he then began to recognize Jessie a little bit, saying that she looked somewhat familiar, but James simply rebutted that the woman ice cream salesman, Jessie, although he obviously didn't say her name, happened to have a whole bunch of twins, so that's probably why Max recognized her. Max was still suspicious, but he decided to just put away his suspicions and keep eating the delicious ice cream, as did Ash and Marius. But just as Team Rocket had planned, when Marius, Max, Ash, and Pikachu finished their ice cream, it caused brain freezes so bad, as well as a ringing in their ears that was so bad because of the brain freeze, that they couldn't even move. They were literally frozen. This leads Team Rocket to throw off their Hawaiian disguises as they reveal themselves, doing their motto, and then James goes up to Pikachu while he was busy touching its ears to try and get rid of the brain freeze and the ringing, and proceeded to put him inside a small cage, and he then handed the cage to Meowth. Team Rocket then laugh as they drop a cage down from their Meowth balloon to capture Ash, Max, and Marius as well. Meanwhile, the Team Magma Grunt that had broke into the museum was followed by Tabitha and another Team Magma Grunt, and they immediately managed to go to the power panel in the museum and cut it entirely, making the lights go out, which made Captain Stern in his office look around confused, when suddenly, just as Captain Stern had left his office to investigate, the 2 Team Magma Grunts and Tabitha took their chance to enter his office, doing so by going up to the top floor and then smashing through the ceiling to get down, so that they could catch the captain off guard. And he certainly was, as Captain Stern immediately ran back into his office to see what was going on, just as Tabitha grabbed the case with the black stone in it, because that's what they were after. Captain Stern bitterly questioned the 2 Magma Grunts and Tabitha what they were up to, as he then noticed the case in Tabitha's hand and immediately ordered him to drop it, but Tabitha refused and stated that items like the rock should be in possession of only Team Magma, not a scientist like Mr. Stern, who he called a nitwit. Captain Stern tries to ignore this insult and simply orders them to give up the stone again, but Tabitha now had nothing to say, as he simply just sent out his Mightyena and told it to use a Shadow Ball to deal with Stern. The Shadow Ball also served as a distraction, as it caused a whole bunch of dust to come from the Shadow Ball hitting the floor, and during the dust, this gave Tabitha and his 2 grunts time to escape, and when the dust cleared, Mr. Stern saw that they had in fact escaped. Meanwhile, back with Ash, Max, and Marius and Team Rocket, from inside the cage, Marius ordered Jesse and James to release all of them instantly, but Jesse and James just laughed, so Ash tried to have Pikachu shock them with his Thunderbolt, also letting himself out in the process, but unfortunately, the cage was electric-proof. As Team Rocket laugh at this, they then start to discuss what to do with Pikachu finally having him, but then they notice Team Magma running out of the museum. Jessie recalled what Team Magma had done to them previously and declared that she wanted revenge, and James stated that if Team Magma was running away from the museum, then they must have tried to steal something, and it must have been very valuable, because, Team Magma usually stole valuable shit, it seemed like. So, Team Rocket came up with the idea to get their revenge by stealing whatever Team Magma had stole from them. So, Jesse, James, and Meowth and Wobbuffet then run after Team Magma, leaving Max, Ash, and Marius alone in the cage, as Marius wondered who the fuck Team Rocket even was, because he'd never heard of them before, and Ash explains, along with Max, who Team Rocket was, basically stating that they were bad people. Ash then turns everyone's attention to the fact that they should probably try and escape the cage now that Team Rocket wasn't watching them, so that they could stop both Team Rocket and Team Magma, and Marius thought this was a good idea, so he decided to see if his Spheal could help them out, as he called it out of its Pokeball and told it to use Body Slam on the cage bars, but Spheal didn't oblige and just happily clapped. So Marius simply ordered the attack again, and Spheal did oblige this time. However, it used Body Slam on him instead, tackling him to the ground. Ash and Max sigh in annoyance, although they totally expected something like this. So Ash relied on his Corphish, sending it out and telling it to use Crab Hammer, and it did so, breaking the cage bars, freeing Ash, Max, and Marius. Meanwhile, Team Rocket was running after Team Magma, but Team Magma was too fast, so Team Rocket resorted to sending out Cacnea and Seviper, who managed to rush over to Team Magma and block Team Magma's path. This halts Team Magma long enough for Jesse, James, Meowth, and Wobbuffet to catch up to Cacnea and Seviper and laugh their asses off at their successful maneuver, as they tell Team Magma that they knew whatever they had in the case must have been important to Team Magma, so they wanted to take it from them, demanding Tabitha to hand over the case. Tabitha refuses, simply by giving an evil smirk, leading Jessie to get pissed off and try and take the cage from Tabitha, as she orders her Seviper to use Poison Tail, but Tabitha simply uses his Mightyena to use Tackle to send Seviper flying back. Cacnea was still raring to go, though, so James had Cacnea use Pin Missile, although Tabitha's Mightyena used Double Team to very, very quickly dodge all the Pin Missiles. Even after the Pin Missiles were done, the Mightyena was still in its Double Team form, so Team Rocket were questioning what the fuck they should do, since they couldn't tell what Mightyena was real, making Tabitha grin at their misery. However, the Double Team quickly wears off, allowing Seviper to go in for a Poison Tail and a Wrap, but Tabitha orders his Mightyena to use Iron Tail, which hits Seviper first, sending Seviper flying into Team Rocket, which causes them to go blasting off, and they drop Pikachu's cage in the process, which breaks, freeing Pikachu. Mightyena growls at Pikachu, going to attack it, but Tabitha tells it not to bother, as there was no real point in Mightyena wasting its energy. Just then, though, Ash, Max, and Marius Marius' Spheal, free from the cage, arrive, and Ash happily hugs his Pikachu, glad that it was free, after Pikachu had happily run up to him. However, Ash, Max, and Marius then notice Tabitha and the Team Magma grunts, and Ash, Max, and Marius stare at the Team Magma grunts as they stare back, when Ash breaks the silence by demanding them to return the case with the rock, seeing that they had it. Team Magma obviously denied, so Ash decided to fight them with his Pikachu and Corphish. However, just then, Captain Stern rushes over and informs Ash that he would take care of Team Magma, as he sends out his Celio, the evolved form of Spheal. Captain Stern instantly orders Celio to use Aurora Beam, and it hits Mightyena, which goes flying into Tabitha, which causes him to drop the case with the black stone in it, which in turn makes the case go flying, and thankfully, just before it hit the ground, Marius was able to catch it. Max compliments Marius on the catch, and Marius thanks him, as he then hands the case back to his father figure, Mr. Stern. Just then, Tabitha's Mightyena got back up after recovering from the Aurora Beam, so Stern and Ash prepared to fight it, only to get startled as the two Team Magma grunts called out their Mightyena as well, meaning that there was now 3 Mightyena to deal with. And the Team Magma grunts were certainly ready for a battle, along with Tabitha, as he demanded the stone back. Meanwhile, in Slateport City somewhere else, May and Brock had just come out of a shop, having finished all their shopping, with their hands full of bags. Although really, Brock only had 1 bag, while May had a whole bunch, exclaiming how much she loved to shop. Brock then suggested that since they were done shopping, they go find Ash and Max at the museum, and May agreed. Meanwhile, back at the museum, Tabitha continued to demand Ash and Max and Stern and all them to hand the case with the stone back over to them, but Ash, Max, Marius, and Stern all refuse, obviously. Ash then questions Tabitha why Team Magma wanted the stone so bad anyways, leading Tabitha to vaguely claim that Team Magma wanted to make things more interesting in the world. Yeah, I don't know what the fuck that meant, or at least Ash and Max and Marius and Stern did. Tabitha then stated that it didn't matter to him if Ash or Max or Stern or Marius understood Team Magma's goals. If they were going to stand in their way, then they would be eliminated. Ash, fearing for what the Mightyena would do, got ready to actually battle now, as he sent out his Corphish and Pikachu to fight them, and Stern still had his Celio to battle. Stern, not wanting the younglings Max and Marius to get injured, ordered the two of them to stay back and make sure they didn't get hurt by any of the attacks. Max wanted to be on the front lines to fully see the battle to its fullest extent, so he declined, while Marius agreed, wanting to please Stern since he looked up to him. Stern then came up with a compromise for Max, stating that if he didn't want to stay back, then he would let him help out, just not directly, instructing him to go into Slateport to get Officer Jenny, when he gave a specific signal. And Max and Marius agreed to this, as the 3 Mightyena started the battle by launching a Hyper Beam each, leading Ash to have Corphish to counter with a Bubble Beam, Pikachu to counter with a Thunderbolt, and Stern has Celio counter with an Aurora Beam, stopping the Hyper Beams in their tracks and causing an immense explosion. This explosion, in turn, caused a whole bunch of smoke to envelop the area, so Stern saw that Max and Marius could make an easy getaway without being noticed, so he gave them a hand signal, telling them to go to Officer Jenny immediately, and they obliged. Although Marius dragged Max with him because he wasn't going fast enough. And when Tabitha saw this, he got a little ticked off, but decided to just keep focusing his efforts on actually retrieving the case. As Marius and Max ran as fast as they could, Marius declared that he and Max weren't running far enough, so he led Max, as well as his own Spiel, to the edge of a cliff that was over a body of water. Max questioned what they were doing, leading Marius to happily reveal his plan of taking a shortcut to town by jumping into the water from the cliff and swimming there, as that was apparently a shortcut. Max freaks out, very scared to jump, but Marius assures Max that Spiel would be coming with them the whole way, so basically, Max and Marius could just grab onto the Spiel to use it as a flotation device, and Spiel then clapped to confirm that it would be ready to assist. It was then revealed that this cliff wasn't far away from Ash or Captain Stern or Team Magma at all, as they were still in view, so this meant that Tabitha could still order his Mightyena to use Shadow Ball on Max and Marius and the Spiel, deciding to stop them. He originally thought that it wasn't worth it, but he thought it was now. Marius did not want to get fucking obliterated by the Shadow Ball, so he practically forced Max to jump down with him as he pulled him down the cliff with him so that they could dodge the Shadow Ball, and they landed in the water. Just as the Shadow Ball hits the cliff, Spiel follows Max and Marius down as well. Tabitha was frustrated that the attack missed and turned his attention back to Ash now, deciding that Max and Marius were now a lost cause. Anyways, Max and Marius and Spiel had slid down the cliff and ended up in the water, and Max ended up surfacing shortly after Spiel and Marius did. So Marius called them over, and he and Max both grabbed onto Spiel as Marius instructed Spiel to bring them to shore. So Spiel began to oblige, swimming forward in a torpedo super-fast fashion as Max screamed, struggling to hold on to Spiel, but nonetheless, they were successfully getting to shore. Extremely, extremely fast. Meanwhile, Brock and May were walking by the beach, commenting how it was pretty sad how Ash and Max couldn't come with them to shop, and instead had went to the museum. Although, while Brock and May were on their way to the museum, they saw none other than Marius and Max approach them, along with Spiel. Although Max was looking for Officer Jenny, he was still pleased to see Brock and May, as he waved to them, leaving May confused as to why Max was with this random-ass kid. Meanwhile, back at the museum, the Mightyena was growling at Corfish, Pikachu, Celio, and Ash and Mr. Stern, threatening to attack them again, per Tabitha's orders. So Mr. Stone knew that if he ended up being attacked by the Mightyena, he might end up dropping the case, so he decided to give the case to Ash, and told him to run while he had Celio distract Team Magma using Blizzard. Ash was hesitant to do this, but Mr. Stern insisted that this was the most safe way for Ash to keep the stone safe. So Ash obliged as him, his Pikachu, and his Corfish rushed off as Celio sent out a powder snow on Tabitha's Mightyena and the other two Mightyena. Unfortunately, as Tabitha simply puts his arm in front of his face to block himself from the blizzard, he managed to have his Mightyena fight through the blizzard and fire off a Shadow Ball, which hits the ground in front of Ash as he was running, causing him to fly back and fall onto the ground, unfortunately dropping the case with the stone in the process. And the drop also causes the case to open, and the stone falls on the ground, splitting into two pieces, one being bigger than the other. Tabitha quickly orders his Mightyena to go over to the broken stone and retrieve it, although Ash tells Pikachu to do the same. Unfortunately, Mightyena gets there first, and Mightyena grabbed only the large piece of the stone by the time Pikachu showed up, although Pikachu wasn't able to grab anything, as Mightyena just growled at it and went back to Tabitha and gave him the piece of the rock. Tabitha was pleased at this, apparently only needing the bigger half of the rock, and he was even more pleased to see the Team Magma helicopter approach in the distance. So Tabitha has his Mightyena use Shadow Ball again, right at Ash and Pikachu, Corfish, and Captain Stern, causing a huge cloud of dust to form in front of them, meaning that they couldn't see shit, and also couldn't see Tabitha and his Mightyena, along with the other Team Magma grunts and their Mightyena, board their helicopter, and the only thing Ash and Captain Stern were able to see by the time the dust cleared was the helicopter flying off into the distance. As Captain Stern watched this, he admitted that Team Magma was quite organized for a criminal organization full of gangsters. As the helicopter was flying off, unfortunately, Max and Marius, along with Brock and May, were too late, as they had gotten Officer Jenny in a Growlithe and a whole bunch of other police cars, but by the time they all arrived, Team Magma was gone. Officer Jenny apologizes on all her officers' behalf for their tardiness, and promises to at least do a sweep of the area to see if Team Magma was nearby, also putting security tape around the museum to prevent any further break-ins for a little while. Ash then talks to Captain Stern, apologizing to Captain Stern for dropping the stone and letting Team Magma get away with it when Captain Stern had purposely entrusted Ash with it. Captain Stern merely tells Ash that he didn't really care because he still had the smaller part of the stone as he held it out to Ash, and clarified that this smaller part of the stone was all he needed to research it. He didn't need the whole thing. May then questioned what Team Magma wanted with the stone, being amazed by how it looked. But everyone admitted that they had no clue, so it was a big mystery. Why did Team Magma want the stone? Brock, also amazed by the stone, admitted that he and May had certainly missed a lot today by going shopping, but told Ash and Max that they had missed a lot as well from missing the shopping. Marius then admits to Ash that after seeing him battle against Team Magma, he thought that he was a relatively strong trainer, and questioned if he was going to the Mauville City gym, that was the closest gym nearby, leading Ash to confirm that he was, so Marius wishes him luck, And he also tells Ash that he was going to do his best to train his Spiel to its strongest stage, and he would then challenge Ash and do his best to try and beat him. Ash approved of this, stating that he was looking forward to it, and Max wished Marius luck with this battle as well, though pointed out that Marius had a lot of training to do before he should even think about challenging Ash, and Marius agreed with this, but promised that he would become better. The episode then ends with Ash, Brock, May, and Max saying goodbye to Captain Stern, Marius, and his Spiel as they continue their journey, now to Mauville City, having wrapped up everything they needed to do in Slateport City.